There's been a lot of talk around President Trump and his intentions to potentially deregulate the financial sector. Stocks have soared accordingly, with U.S. financials up 14% since the election day. How do you think this could affect the stability of the world's financial system? And do you think that existing legislation, like Dodd Frank, was enough to curtail the next financial crisis?
It is obviously striking that since the election of Donald Trump at the beginning of November, which most sort of establishment thinkers, first of all, dismissed in advance as impossible, and then greeted with great fear, has been followed by not only the Dow going above 20,000 for the first time ever, but also upgrades in the global growth forecasts from both the OECD and, in the case of the IMF, an upgrade in the advanced economy forecast. And it's interesting that both the OECD and the IMF say that one of the main reasons that's driven them to upgrade their forecasts is Donald Trump's commitment to a fiscal stimulus. I think it is an enormous indictment of mainstream economic policy over the last 7 years that we've ended up having a positive response to the policy of a man who understands nothing about economic theory and couldn't give a damn about it. Because actually, the policies that we have been pursuing, which have combined fiscal austerity with ultra-loose monetary policy, have been imperfectly effective in pulling us out of a recession. We should have had more fiscal stimulus, and it is just tragic that we're now getting fiscal stimulus from Donald Trump rather than from more acceptable and responsible people. I think his fiscal stimulus will turn out to be of the least efficient form. I think it'll be skewed towards tax cuts for the rich rather than amelioration of the position of lower income people. And that will just increase the problem of inequality, which we talked about earlier. And I think there'll probably be less infrastructure investment. But it will be some form of fiscal stimulus, and it will be good for the American economy. And, it's tragic that what's going to happen is that the Republican Congress is going to allow to President Trump a fiscal stimulus which it would have refused to President Obama. Again, an illustration of the cynicism of politics. As for Trump's deregulation agenda, I don't think that will be positive. I think deregulation of the American financial system will be, in the long run, harmful. I think President Trump really doesn't understand at all the origins of what happened in 2008. As I said earlier, I think the absolute core origins of that were an over-leveraged economy. Now, you wouldn't expect President Trump to worry about an over-leveraged economy because essentially he has got ultra-rich by leverage. That's what real estate speculators do and developers do. They leverage up as much as possible in special purpose vehicles. Some of those go bankrupt and the banks take the losses. Some of them do fantastically well, and the equity owner, i.e. Donald Trump, takes the upside. That process has been very destabilizing for the economy and very good for Donald Trump, and I'm sure he'll want to see that going on in future as well. So the deregulation agenda, I have very little sympathy at all. I think it in the long run will be harmful. Do I think Dodd Frank is a perfect bit of regulation? Absolutely not. Like a lot of bits of regulation that come in particular out of the US, because you have so much legislative initiative rather than executive initiative on legislation, it ends up having all sorts of things chucked into it through the committee processes and the lobbying processes, and it ends up so huge and complex that it's a very imperfect piece of legislation. But was it in its key features appropriate? Yes, I think it was, and I think it will be very harmful if those key features are undermined.